boys and girls. We're in the science lab today, and I remembered that I didn't show you what happened to the beans that we put in this little bottle. So I thought we'd look at them together today. I haven't opened it yet. I have been looking. Can you see? I've been looking to see what's happening, and they have changed a little bit. This is what they looked like before. And let's see what they look like now. Okay, so let's take out the paper towel. Remember, we had wet this paper towel. So it's still kind of wet. And there's another one in there. And one more. Oh, I can smell it. It smells like, it's kind of stinky. Oh, and there's kind of mushy stuff there too. Well, I don't know, boys and girls. It looks like it got a little bit too squishy. Maybe our paper towel was too wet. So if you look really closely, boys and girls, you can see that the seeds did start to sprout. There's a little bit there and a little bit there. And that would have been the root. It was just starting. And then there would have been a sprout coming out too. But I think either our paper towel was too wet or Miss Colleen left it too long and it actually rotted. So it just looks pretty yucky in there. So I thought we'd try something else. I have 2 more bean seeds. And this time I have some soil and a little pot. The soil, I can't go to the store right now to buy soil, so I just went out into my garden and I got a little bit of soil. And I'm gonna scoop it and put it in to our little pot. And then we'll put 1 seed and 2 seeds. And then we need to cover them up with a little bit more soil. What I wanted you to be able to see with the experiment with the paper towel was you could see it starting to grow. When it's covered in the soil, you can't see it until it comes out of the soil. But we'll get to see that when it happens, hopefully. So we'll put this in a sunny window. We'll give it a little bit of water too, and we'll check on it and see what it's doing. So boys and girls, science experiments are about learning. And even though our experiment didn't work, we did learn something. We learned that our paper was too wet and that maybe we should have checked on it a little bit sooner. And we tried something different. We put it in the soil. And so now we're going to watch the one in the soil and we'll check it next week and see if it's starting to grow. Here are some of the other plants we have in the science lab. They're all different types of flowering plants. That means that they have leaves and flowers. Can you see this one? It's called a cactus. It has this beautiful pink flower on it. Now cactuses don't need a whole lot of water, but I'm going to give him a little bit of water because remember, plants need water and sun and soil. Now this one here is called a shamrock and it has 3 leaves on each of its sprouts. And here it has little white flowers. Aren't they pretty? They're so tiny. I'll give him some water too. Oh, the water's all gone. What are we going to do for this plant? This is called an orchid. It has beautiful flowers. Right now it just has 1, but you can see the buds. It's going to have lots more soon. Well, guess what we do for orchids? It's kind of funny. We give them ice cubes, and that melts slowly and gives them a little drink of water. So I always put 2 ice cubes right in here, right in the pot. It's hard because it has so many leaves. To find a spot to put 2 ice cubes, and then they melt and give the orchid a drink. Let's see what's in the story bag today. Well, this isn't a book. I wonder what this is. It's a flower pot, and it looks like somebody has planted some seeds. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This reminds me of a song. They were 5 in the pot, and the little one thought, let's grow, let's grow. So they all grew a little, and one popped out. There were 4 in the pot, and the little one thought, let's grow, let's grow. So they all grew a little, and one popped out. There were 3 in the pot, and the little one thought, let's So they all grew a little and one popped up. There was one in the pot and the little one thought, let's grow, let's grow. So they all grew a little and one popped up. Wow. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bean seeds grew into bean plants. There should be one more thing in the story bag. I wonder if it's a story. Oh, it is. How does your garden grow? How Does Your Garden Grow? By Pat Patterson, illustrated by Brenda Clark and Debbie Perna. An earthworm was crawling along. Suddenly, the earth around him started to crack and crumble in a most alarming way. Hey, what's going on here? The earthworm asked himself. He wriggled his long pink body up through the soil to find out. No wonder the earth was moving. Someone was digging with a spade. It was a girl. To the earthworm, she looked very big. The earthworm crawled to a safe corner of the garden. There he was joined by a caterpillar, an ant, and a snail. The girl, whose name was Gaily, dug, hoed, and raked. Her little brother Sebastian helped her. This was the first time that Gaily had ever made a garden of her own. When the earth was ready, Gaily carefully planted some seeds. It's raining, exclaimed the snail. I'm going inside my shell to stay dry. Oh dear, said the caterpillar, crawling under a leaf at the edge of the garden. When my fuzz gets wet, I look like a worm. Ugh. Don't be rude, said the earthworm. Actually, the ant announced, it's not raining. The girl is watering the seeds to make them grow. When Gaily finished watering, she tried to roll up the hose. By mistake, she got all tangled up. Later, a flock of birds flew into the garden. The earthworm was afraid of being eaten. He hid in the soil, but the sparrows ate only the seeds. To frighten away the birds, Gaily and Sebastian made a scarecrow that fluttered in the breeze. The birds stayed away. Hooray, the radishes are up, shouted Gaily a few weeks later. But those are only green leaves, complained Sebastian. Where are the round red parts? The red parts are under the ground, said Gaily wisely. They need more time to grow. Later, Gaily dug up a radish to see how big it was. The round red part was too tiny to eat. Gaily put the radish back and packed the earth all around it. As the vegetables grew, so did the weeds. Some weeds were harder to pull out than others. Once Sebastian pulled one out, he toppled over, just missing the earthworm, the snail, the caterpillar, and the ant. One day, Gaily discovered some little green bugs on the tomato plants. She went over to ask her mother for advice. Those green bugs are called aphids, Gaily's mother said. They are bad for plants. What a peculiar smell, exclaimed the ant after Gaily and her mother had planted flowers called marigolds around the tomatoes. The little green bugs didn't like the marigold smell. Soon the aphids were gone. Good riddance to bad rubbish, said the earthworm. How dare you, replied the ant. Some of my best friends are aphids. The argument grew so fierce that they didn't notice anyone coming. But Sebastian saw the stranger. He ran to Gaily. He shouted, There's a tiger in your garden. Sebastian's family knew he sometimes made things sound bigger than they were, but the family was careful just in case. There was no tiger in the garden, just a large ginger cat. Then came the day that Gaily picked many kinds of delicious fresh vegetables. For a while, the earthworm rode on the basket. Then Gaily saw him and put him back on the ground. The earthworm wriggled back into the garden. As he got there, Gaily and her family gave 3 cheers. The earthworm thought they were cheering for him, but they were really cheering for Gaily and her wonderful garden. Hooray! The end. Well, that's everything for today, boys and girls. Do you remember what we learned today? We started off in the science lab and we checked on the bean seeds that we had put in the wet paper towel, but they got pretty mushy and gross. So we decided to plant them in the soil, and we'll check on them next week and see how they're doing. Then we looked at the other plants better in the science lab. We also sang a song about the little bean seeds that grew, and we read, How Does Your Garden Grow? I had fun talking about plants with you today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.